What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video. Today I'm going to be discussing the NHL salary cap problem going forward, and for a lot of teams this could be a really scary time due to the coronavirus. Obviously the NHL season was suspended. At the time I'm recording this, there hasn't been any plans yet for the NHL to come back or to officially cancel their season. This is just my thoughts and opinions. Make sure to leave yours down below as well, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I would really appreciate it. Lots of hockey content coming even during this time that there's no hockey being played, so I'd appreciate your support. But basically what I wanted to talk about was the NHL salary cap. So a couple weeks ago we heard the reports that the NHL salary cap would increase basically from, it's around 82 million right now I believe, to or I think it's 81.5, up to 84 to 88 million dollars, which, knowing the NHL, it probably would have been around 84 to 84.5, which is still good. It's an increase. That will get you an additional couple forwards for the bottom of your offense, or a backup goaltender, or maybe another defenseman. Throw in an entry-level contract, a league minimum contract, whatever. It at least opens it up a little bit for some teams. And if it was at the 86 margin, then the offseason could have been pretty fun, because we could have seen some teams spend a little bit more than we expected them to. But obviously with the news of the coronavirus and the obviously eventual cancellation of the season, in my opinion, the NHL is in trouble financially. Now, I don't mean in trouble of like, oh, they're shutting down operations. No, they're completely fine. But the problem is that the NHL relies on a certain amount of revenue to come in every single year, and they're not getting it. They're not getting any TV deals. Let's just assume they cancel the season, right? No more TV deals, no ticket sales, none of this other stuff. So all these different revenue or places that they're getting revenue from, they're getting none of it, right? So apparently, according to Elliot Friedman, this could cost the NHL upwards towards like $1 billion, which when I read that number, I was like, oh my God, like it could cost them $1 billion with a B to cancel the season. At first I thought it was only 300 million only. Could you imagine seeing that type of money in your bank account? But it could cost them $1 billion to cancel the season. Now, what that means is, the salary cap is toast. So the NHL gives teams a certain amount of money every year to spend on their players, and there's loopholes to get around, using certain money. But for the most part, $81.5 million was the salary cap, and that's what you're allowed to spend on your team. So with this coronavirus, even if the NHL does come back and finish off their season, there's still going to be a revenue drop. There is right now. They're not making a lot of money. So this basically what's going to happen is the NHL is going to have to find a way to keep the salary cap where it is, or else it's going to go down. And unfortunately, again, I have to be the guy to say it, but I can't see a world where the salary cap goes up at all in the next couple years, or I can't see a world in which it stays at $81.5 million. I actually do believe it's going to go down a couple $1 million. I think it could go to 79 million, which would be a huge problem for teams that are tight to the cap. Now, here's another thing I want to say. There's going to be a lot of fans in here, Leaf fans especially, but a lot of fans around the NHL that are going to be watching this thinking, well, my GM's dumb then for signing these contracts. Why did he spend so much money on this? Of course, he shouldn't have spent this much. Nobody in their right mind could have predicted this. Nobody. So before we go and start blaming teams for signing that extra contract in the offseason, or making that extra trade, nobody could have predicted this. Nobody would have known, okay, well, the season's going to get canceled because this virus is going to take over, and the salary cap's going to go down. Like, nobody knew that. So this is going to be tough for a lot of teams. Now, what the NHL could respond with is, okay, you can buy out one player or something around that area, as to like, okay, if you have a player that's costing you a lot of money, you can buy out one player, or at least get a cap like bonus, I guess. Maybe they'll give a little bit of money to each team just to have like that one player that actually is helping their cap situation, maybe splitting it in half, or a percentage of the contract. I don't know what they're going to do, but there's a ton of different ideas that people have been running by online in other places, and the media has been, and we're going to get more of that coverage probably within the next couple weeks of them coming up with ideas, until we hear more on the whole situation. But teams that are tight to the cap are going to now have to turn to teams that have a lot of money in the offseason, especially if the season is canceled, because they're going to have to cut costs. A lot of teams were expecting the cap to go up, and to be honest with you, it was going up. Like it was 100%, it was going up to around $84 to $85 million, and that would help a lot of different teams. So let's say a team like Toronto, just for instance, because I talk about them quite a lot. Let's say that it goes down to $79 million. Well, you just signed Jake Muzzin. You have all these other little contracts that you have to deal with. You have to deal with Travis Dermott as well. Let's say that they have to go to a team that has a ton of cap space. You know, they have to go to that team and say, listen, you know, we're looking for draft picks here. You know, we have Kerfoot, we have Janssen, whatever. Like, they're going to have to make those moves, especially if there isn't any help. The Leafs don't have anybody that's worth a buyout. Like, there's going to be a lot of teams that are like, what do you mean? Like, we don't even want to buy this player out, but we have to because we need that cap savings because we're going to be over the cap, and obviously that's not allowed. You know, there's going to be a lot of teams using long-term injured reserve, you know, for actual injured players, right? That's going to cost them real money out of their pocket. Like, when the Leafs put a guy like David Clarkson on LTIR, they're paying him that money out of the actual team's money. Like, they have tons of money. Like, MLSE is super loaded, so they're fine. But for some teams that can't afford to do that, it's going to be tough on them. That's obviously hurting their revenue as well. Now, I also need to state here, I don't know if I'm going to make a video on it, but we've been seeing a lot, especially at the time I'm recording this, that a lot of owners of NHL teams aren't paying out the salaries for a lot of people who have lost their job during this time. I have no sympathy for those people whatsoever, and I mean the owners. The people who work for these arenas should be getting paid, and especially by, you know, the owners of the teams and stuff like that, because they are, you know, they're losing their job essentially for who knows how long, right? Could be months. So I don't know. I don't have any sympathy for a lot of these owners, but there's a lot of owners and teams that are stepping up and paying for their staff. You know, most notably right now, the Calgary Flames and Edmonton Oilers are not paying. And again, at the time recording this, that could change, but I have no sympathy for the owners in terms of them needing to find money to deal with things, because apparently they can't find money to, you know, help out their own staff that you know, potentially could have already been infected, because I think some people didn't understand how severe this was already, as it showed that within 5 days that while Rudy Gobert technically had the coronavirus or the symptoms, that they had played within 5 games, all 30 NBA teams had played each other. So that's why a lot of players were being tested, like the Toronto Raptors, thank God. Excuse me, currently the tests have come back negative, but the NHL, a lot of players are probably being tested right now as we speak. We haven't heard any results or anything like that, especially if those players are sick or if they get the symptoms coming up. So again, getting off topic, but the salary cap, I think it's taken a dip, and teams are going to have to make moves that they don't want to make, and that's unfortunate. It's going to make for a wild offseason, but again, this all depends on what the NHL's plan is. If the season is going to get canceled, there's a lot of narratives that we can go with here, but until we really know, we can just discuss and come up with our own opinions. So if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe, leave your opinion down below, tell me what you think about this, what's going to happen. Is the salary cap, like, are they even going to change it? Like, I know during the lockout season, they did their best to keep the salary cap the same the next year, because it was troubling for them to make full revenue when you're not playing a full season. So if it's only 30 days, the NHL might luck out, but there's no way. There's no way this is only going to be 30 days, and the NHL is going to lose a ton of money. So like I said, if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe, leave me your opinions down below. Will the NHL come up with some sort of solution? If you subscribe here, there will be tons of content, and of course updating the salary cap issue and other issues around the league, talking about what's going on in the world, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it already because of social media, but I'd like at least for you guys to hear my opinion, and like I said, I want to hear yours as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to wash your hands, stay safe, stay clean, make sure to stay inside if you're feeling sick, but this is craziness right now. It's literally like a movie, and I keep saying that, but it's literally like a movie. So thank you guys again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.